Hey everyone, and welcome to the Business Growth Made Easy podcast. I am your host, Maria Fontana, helping salon professionals globally create more profits while reducing stress. And today I have an amazing guest expert, the beautiful Donna Roggio. Hi, Donna, how are you?
Hi, how are you, Maria?
I'm
Thank you for
great.
having me.
Thank you. Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so excited. So today we're going to be talking about something that everyone's afraid to talk about: money and finances in the salon business, in the salon industry. And as an experienced consultant, Donna's going to bring some clarity to some of the most pressing questions, especially after people are coming out of, I think, the pandemic and rebuilding their businesses, and people are in a funk. So I think there's some great wisdom here. So Donna, let's start off. Just introduce yourself, tell everybody what you do, your magic, and what your superpower is, and how we're going to really help them today. Because guys, listen in. You are going to be taking away some great tips that are going to help your business soar. So there you go, Donna. Let our audience know a little bit about you.
Thank you. I prefer to talk about other people than myself, but
Well, you're awesome. So talk about yourself.
My name is Donna Roggio, and I owned a salon for 19 years, of which I sold 4 years ago. I have been doing coaching and consulting for about 11 years now, on and off between my travels. I am a travel freak. I love to get on planes, and I love to travel all through Europe. And about 3 years ago, I bought a house in Ibiza.
Nice.
So I am transcontinental. I go back and forth between the US and Spain. And what I love to do is work with clients to level up their business. So everything from systems and structure and organization of the minute to what I really love, which is money and fierce financials. And the part that I love about it the most is really teaching somebody and educating them on how to understand their own financials. So it's not like yes, I can do it for you, but
Right.
What I really love is the learning process and the shift in somebody when they really start to get it and they really start to find out about their money and how it's either serving them or not serving them.
Well, I love that. Well, we have something else in common. I own a home in Southern Italy, so I go back and forth too. So look at that. I knew that we had the same vibe.
Yeah.
So Donna, what would you say, again, I know I'm in business over 34 years, had a brick and mortar, and I totally, when I was new in my business, which I'm sure you experienced too, no one teaches you the basics of how to fundamentally run that salon business. You just go in and it's you just hope for the best. You learn by making mistakes. At least that's how I learned.
Mm-hmm.
What is, I think, maybe the top 3 things that you could suggest to either, well, not even new, and I think a lot of seasoned salon owners who are just year by year just winging it. I hate to say it, but I think a lot of salon owners are winging it. So let's, share with our audience what you think. I know you're so good at this. 3 things that 3 bullet points that they really need to focus on to make some major shift that they'll massive value they could take away today.
Okay. So yeah, I think it's a wing and a prayer. I think the prayer comes behind the wing. So that's the first part. It's definitely a wing and a prayer. And this is probably the top line that I get when I'm working with people. And, as we're getting to collaborate and know each other, it's I've been doing it on a wing and a prayer. But I think that the top 3 things, we did learn from our mistakes. I also have been in the industry for 35 years. And when I opened it, I remember it was this famous line from Kevin Costner: "If I build it, they will come." And that was my attitude. And it was okay, I did build it and they did come. And now what, kind of thing. So,
oh my God, so true.
Right. So there was, over a 19-year period, if you're in it for a long time, there's roller coasters, there's up and down, there's shifts, there's changes. But I think looking back through the whole process, the core of it really is organization and literacy around your finances. So, it's something we don't learn in school. It's something that, if we had a basic accounting class and as a co-op in our high school years, this was a big deal. But I think that what happens is we never really get to understand where our money is serving us and coming in, and then how to delegate it to go out, also how to save time. I mean, it's this huge overwhelming undertaking that is actually so simple. After you break it apart, it's an hour and a half a month and you have a complete understanding of all your finances. But this literacy of overwhelmment that comes from we tend to like just push it off to a bookkeeper, push it off to an accountant, hope that they're doing the best for us without even understanding, what do I need? As an example, what do I need for my house? What do I actually need to survive before I even get to my business? It's like we differentiate our business from our personal life.
That is so true. I see that all the time too when I work with clients. I'm like, wait a minute, but let's go back to here the core basics. So yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about, and this is your signature. This is Donna's signature strategy, your signature strategy for creating, I would say, wealth and prosperity and organization in a simplified manner. I mean, that's what I've learned from you, really. So let's tell them about the simplicity of it. And I guess what like bullet points of how they can really start working on this.
So I can definitely give you a link for a download to start them to get organized. I don't know if I sent that to you already.
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to throw that download, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, it's down in the description. If you're listening to us on the podcast, it is in the show notes. So make sure you connect with that and you take advantage of this amazing content that Donna's sharing with you, because it could be a game changer for your finances.
Thanks, Maria.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think the bullet points of it are, trying to understand what your income looks like and where all your income is coming from. So that's a bullet point. Where does this come from? It comes from services, it comes from products, it comes from gift certificate sales. Mm-hmm. So it's understanding where all your revenue is coming from. If you have any, like we were chatting, offline, mm-hmm. Are there other ways that we can have income come into our business? If we have a brick and mortar space, I had 7 businesses that I didn't necessarily run with inside my salon, an art gallery, jewelry display, clothing. I had private label hair care, which was awesome for the whole 19 years I did my business. But really understanding all the resources that you have for income coming into your salon.
Correct.
And then the most important part is what's going out of your salon. Mm-hmm. Why? How? Are you aware of it? Are you passing it on? Are you engaged with it every month? It's like, to me, it's like the simplest form of just reviewing everything that's coming in and out of your pockets, right. And really trying to understand it so that nothing gets by for a long term. When I do my course, as an example, in the course, I'll say to the ladies that are taking it, have you ever checked your Social Security report? As an example, you can log in online, create a username and a password. And every year after tax return, you should be looking at your Social Security report. Absolutely. Just so that you know what's in store for you. Going on the US Treasury and trying to see if there's any accounts that you had forgotten about somewhere in the world that now you can go back and just kind of get this money that's sitting there in reserve.
Right.
Understanding about, you can let me know when to stop, because I can just keep going with bullet points.
No, I love this. And I think it's so important because this is stuff that we've learned through like hard knocks and trial and error. And like I said, sometimes, especially salon professionals, we always seem to like not want to look at it, I think, or we're afraid of it. Yeah. So really, don't you find like that's also too, they have to shift out of the fear, and the longer you ignore it, the longer you're setting yourself up for failure, is my opinion.
Yeah. I think that, in our industry, we're so focused on technical skills and we're taking technical skills all day long. And if we take a business class once every few years, right, we like it, we're inspired, and then we leave and we go back to technical, which is our comfort level, which is where it's inspiring and creative. And I love this too. I do art. I still do hair, right, once in a while. But the business side, we're running a business. Whether we're owning the salon or we're standing behind the chair, we're running our own business. And to really get an understanding of like, what are the benchmarks on this? What do I need to focus on in order to get this result? That's a whole nother caveat, right? Understanding what drives the money to the individual chair. And then, for the owner, hold on one sec, I lost it for a second, but as the owner, then we also want to understand what each, square footage is doing within our facility and understand the breakdown of that. But what happens in our industry is a lot of times I think people go into courses and they put all these equations in for you, and you're putting your square footage and you're putting your chairs and you're putting all this stuff, but you haven't even understood like financial literacy.
Right.
You haven't understood what it looks like to look at a profit and loss. What does that mean? How does this work? How do I save money for emergency? How much should I save money for emergency funds? How
Yeah.
much should I be retiring with? And then we just go on Google, this is what we do. We go on Google, how much should I save? But there's no execution behind it. So I really think that this first step of foundation is really starting to organize, which then in turn streamlines, which then in turn brings you profit back because you're really aware. And
Right.
anything that we bring into the energy of our world, we do get this back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always say to clients too, I'm like, you got to do the math. It's reverse engineering the math. Like we can figure out, it's the same way if you're formulating a hair color formula or whatever it is you're formulating in your business, you have to reverse engineer and figure out where you're starting, where you're going to end, and what's that bridge look like in the middle. So this is where you really come in and help clients figure out those benchmarks and simplify. I know it's so easy to comprehend. So why don't we share like one or two simple secrets, like two secrets that maybe no one's even thinking about. They're just not doing it because no one ever told them to do it. And especially again, in our industry, it seems like it's always on the back burner. No one's talking about the money. No one's talking about the finance. I wouldn't even say the money. No one's talking about how to run the business. They're all talking about Instagram and Clubhouse and marketing and this and that. But how about the foundation of the house, people? So I would love to hear that. What are your thoughts on that?
No, they're an important caveat to our business.
Sure.
But again, it's, when we style our hair and we start with something, we have a foundation. And without the strong foundation, things get weak over time. So if you want to do it as a hobby and you just want to be known from your, from your area, from online, from whatever that is, those are all great things to be known. I happen to really love the idea of retirement. I would say that I took an early retirement and now I'm back to work again because I've enjoyed. I'm not going to wait until I'm 70 to go and enjoy. Little secrets that nobody's doing. Nothing's popping in my head. I'm sorry, Maria. I think that, just really trying to understand all your finances and learn it, really learn it. And this is intimidating for people. This is really scary when as an owner of a business, when you sit down with a team member and you open a spreadsheet, people's eyes roll into the back of their head. They're what, their head starts spinning, all these things happen.
Right.
So, to be able to break that down, meet somebody where they are so that somebody can really educate somebody through that process. I think that's the kind of person that you need in your life, like you or I, that can really support somebody where they are. It's just that they're willing to put in the time and the effort, but that we can kind of nurture them through that process of understanding, because this is what I was saying before. It's we go from A to M, and we can't go from A to M understanding your business if you don't understand all these letters between, numbers and letters are not the same, clearly. Yeah. So
would you suggest that suite owners, anyone who is, even if you're an independent, I'm in New Jersey, so we don't really have booth renting. We, every state is different, but I know, globally, if you are behind that chair and you are paying taxes and you are growing your own business, you need to be accountable. So I think a lot of us, I did it when I was young. I didn't know in the beginning. I would just count on my accountant to tell me what I should be doing. But again, what do you think, Donna? I don't think that unless you have an accountant who specializes in the salon industry, you should be just as knowledgeable, and you should be telling them, collaborating with them, right? So what have you seen that has been a big, a red flag that maybe a lot of salon owners should look for to make their life better, that maybe they're not doing because they just don't know?
This is a great point. It's I don't know what I know what I know, but as I go through the process, you're inspired to speak about it. So I appreciate you asking some of these questions. I think that the most important thing with your tax return is if you're engaged in your finances through the entire year, this is one step. You're understanding where your money is coming in and going out. But the next step is also understanding what you're legally allowed to take out and what is a write-off. And we don't want to just leave it on our accountants. We have to be our biggest advocate for ourselves. I mean, there's things, as an example, because I do the personal financials and I do the business, so that we can see side by side what's going on. And every time I'm working with somebody, I said, these things in your personal are gray. This gray area, you get to transition this if you're an LLC or a sole corp. If these are in your gray area of your house, these also get to transfer over. And if you're just kind of throwing the receipts in and you're not organizing this in a way to give it to your accountant, you're losing out on income, essentially, because you're not paying the tax on this amount of money that can be back in your pocket. It's not so much what we're bringing in, it's about what we're bringing home, right? And doing things legally, but doing them as our own advocate so that we make the most money. Like an example, when I had my company, it was an S corp, and I always took out my IRA from my S corp before I would take my income, because this lowers my income coming over to my personal return. It's legal, but if I brought it over to my personal return and then I was saving for this IRA, I would essentially be paying tax to bring the money out. And then I would be taxed again when I take out my IRA in the future. So by taking it out like this, I'm taking that deduction essentially for myself right now, which also in turn, like the bigger picture, as we meet up the ladder here, if I'm in a tax bracket of 19% or 22%, and then my IRA brings me down another percent or another 2% because I've taken this off, it's a savings for my entire income. So they're the things, it's like these micro little details of understanding your money again and how you can benefit from these little tiny things. And they really add up, like big time add up, like thousands and thousands of dollars a year.
Absolutely. Well, I hear a lot of stylists, a lot of salon owners, and I'm just shocked because again, I've done the same thing. They're like, well, I didn't even know I could be an S corp. I don't even know what an LLC is. What's a sole, they're really clueless. There's people not collecting sales tax that should be, there's people collecting sales tax that shouldn't be. It's like, so again, it's really, I think you and I can't stress enough that own the importance of being a business person. You would not go open up a retail store without having all this knowledge. I think there's this missing link where so many, and I'm not bashing anyone, I learned the hard way by making mistakes, and I'm sure like you did too, but becoming literate of our finances and the business structure is so important to running a real business.
Yeah, it's definitely
it's huge, right?
The systems behind it are what keep you flowing and going.
What's one of your favorite systems? Like, is there one system that you like one automation or something that helps with organizing the back end? Do you prefer one over another, or maybe one thing that could really simplify people's bookkeeping? Maybe is there something that you suggest that works better than another?
So when I had my salon, I took a lot of business courses. I was super passionate about it. I actually started when I was 17 doing payroll with one of the salons that I was working at. So I've always been like a little bit of a freak like this.
Like a numbers geek.
A geeky freak. I don't know what it is, but
I love it. Well, you're a numbers whiz.
Well, I wasn't always though. I became a numbers whiz because I was challenged with understanding it. So it wasn't like it was given to me and I kind of took a whole bunch of different things and then pulled together. So actually what I train on, I've created, because I think that everything should be to its simplest form. Yeah. I'll give you the example. I've used QuickBooks in my business, and I even work with one of my friends right now, and she's a bookkeeper and she's using QuickBooks. And I've been using my system for the last 11 years for myself, for my personal, all my businesses, my house in Ibiza, everything. So I said, all right, I'm going to put everything back into QuickBooks now and see how this is integrating, because I'd love for it to be able to integrate back and forth. And I'm like, I have to tell you, this thing is so challenging. I mean, it is easy, but it's so challenging because of all these different setup things that you need to do. And I understand why a salon owner, this is intimidating when you're like, oh, categorize it here, move it into here. This needs a logo, a label into here. And I'm like, mine's just like streamline, simplified, keeping it real so that anybody can look at it. So this is my favorite system. And it's not just because I've created it, but it's because I've created it. And I know that it's super understandable. Super
and I love that. I love that. So let's, before we end for today, what's the one thing that again, as an independent salon owner, moving out of this pandemic, people are trying to rebuild, trying to figure out, people might have loans now. What's the one thing that you think is critical? I mean, besides getting their financial literacy, to really honing in and grounding themselves to move forward into success financially?
Yeah, fine. I want to answer your question. First of all, I think self-love is so important.
Mhm.
And I think, so I can't just be 100% about the numbers. There's this other side of like self-love, self-validation. I think salon owners and hairdressers, we give out our energy all day long, making
Yeah.
people feel good, empowering them. And I think that there's this disconnect because we're such givers or empaths or whatever we want to call this. So the way to get to financial is to also take the self-love that you deserve to be able to retire. You deserve to be able to travel or purchase the things that you want to purchase, or leave a legacy for your children, or support people that you want to support in a different way, but also supporting yourself. And I think that taking the time for yourself, I know if I'm working 16 hours a day and I love what I do, people think I'm nuts. If I don't exercise for 3 days in a row, I go a little crazy.
Yeah,
I do go a little crazy. You have to take the moment for yourself to validate also that you deserve to take the moment for yourself. And learning your finances is you taking the moment for yourself, the payback of all of this energy that you're exuding. I know that money is just the transition of something, right? It's a transition of being able to reach our dreams and do different things. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I think that we should be able to live our dream.
Absolutely.
I think that we should be able to live in a place that we want to live. And until we understand our money, we have a disconnect from that. And then we don't feel like we can. So when you really start to understand your finances, you can have a lot of the things that you want. Some things are choices, and organization and, a whole bunch of different things this way, but we all should get to live our dream.
So I think as a closing statement, the bottom line is, and I agree with you, I think it's all about really having compassion and grace for ourselves as entrepreneurs, as hardworking, compassionate, beautiful, loving people, because we all are. We're all big-hearted by nature. And I speak to everyone in this industry because I haven't met one person in this salon professional industry who is not a big-hearted creative. I mean, it's just the way it is. So I would say having compassion, giving ourselves a little grace, and maybe putting that time in the schedule for our financial literacy, like making an appointment with yourself to be like, you know what? I'm going to book that call with Donna and just maybe see if there's something she can support me with. I'm going to, book that call with my account, whatever it looks like, or just get a pen and paper and do it. And don't be afraid. And if you are afraid, it's okay. Feel the fear and do it anyway. So guys, I am going to be posting Donna's workshops, how you can connect with her, all her amazing products and services. But Donna, do you offer a complimentary consult? Can people reach out to you? We'll post everything below and they can connect with you, I'm sure, on Facebook, Instagram, well, whatever it is. I can't remember off the top of your head where you are, but everything will be in the description. I want to thank you so much for joining me and for being a voice, because you're the only one that I personally know that works on the financial part of this. And this is something we all really need. And it's a game changer. And I'm so appreciative and grateful you were able to help us today and share these amazing tips and tools to help grow our practices. So thank you so much. You're awesome.
Maria, thank you. Yes, I do a strategy call for anybody that wants to have a conversation. I love to meet people in our industry and small business and hairdressers even. I love to meet everybody. So people can reach out to me. I'm on everything. I'm on every social media. I have Clubhouse rooms that I have to start doing, but I really enjoy this kind of one-on-one with everyone.
I do too. All right. So everything's going to be, connections are going to be down in description, or they're going to be down in the show notes. Guys, thank you for listening. Share this podcast, share it with your friends, share it with any salon professional who could use a little love, support, mindset, and strategy. Thank you guys for listening.